Tortuga Distributors accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh. Health City, now open at Camana Bay 7 days a week.
The Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, and by West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
Radio Cayman,
The voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
This is For the Record with ORRETT Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, ORRETT Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Monday, the 21st day of June 2021. I hope and I trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. All of those fathers out there, hope you were well treated yesterday on Father's Day as well. But every day should be Father's Day. Every day should be Mother's Day. Every day should be Children's Day. We're all individuals. We're all human beings, so we shouldn't choose the days in which we treat people other than we would normally treat them. So, folks, if you're on the roads of the Cayman Islands this morning, we want to urge you to please be extremely cautious, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or operating any type of motorized vehicle. Please ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember that the life you save may be your own. If you're celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday, or if you celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday as well. For those of you who have lost loved ones, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these very challenging times, and that the memory of your loved ones will be a blessing as well. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as we traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, ORRETT Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. If you don't like to talk on the telephone, then email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us, 925-3261. And, of course, you can follow us on YouTube simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream. This morning, we're going to be talking about a specific subject, and we have a full house in the studio with us. We want to restrict any calls to the topic that we are discussing because we have lots to discuss, and while we would want to address other issues, we basically want to give as much time as possible to this particular subject. And what is that? This particular subject, we're talking about a symposium that is taking place on Thursday, starting on Thursday, the 24th of June, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. It is called the J.A. Roy Borden Public Intellectual Interrogating the Caymanian Society. That It's being sponsored by University College. Sorry? Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry. Cayman Islands National Cultural Foundation. And before I make any more mistakes with that, I am going to let my guests tell us about it, starting with you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you, OC. It's a delight to be on your program. And you're right, we're having this symposium to honor and also interrogate the writings of Roy Bodden.
Yes.
Persons might know that Mr. Bodden has written several books. He has written a book entitled The Cayman Islands in Transition. Another one, Patronage, Personalities and Parties, Cayman Politics from 1950 to 2000. From guardhouse to the glass house, one man's journey through the maze of Caymanian politics. Stories my grandmother never told me, a gathering of old men, and also reflections on a broken mirror. Now, this is really an extraordinary achievement. If you understand the writing process of what it takes to really research and write and consider and ponder and sift and synthesize, it's a tremendous body of work. And we believe that this ought to be celebrated. And that's why the Cayman National Cultural Foundation, and Mr. Henry will be here later on, decided that given the range of subjects covered by Mr. Bodden, from politics and the nature of society where it started, where it evolved, the economy, ethics, epistemology, a whole range of issues that are covered in these texts, that it should be, it's a good idea to bring together thinkers to look at these ideas, not to necessarily agree with him, right? We're here to interrogate.
Yes.
There were the points of agreement, but the whole idea is that there are a variety of subject areas that the presenters are going to be using his work as points of departure in presenting their own interpretation, their own papers. And as you mentioned, it's going to be Thursday, June 24, that this Thursday from 9 to 5 at the Harkwell Theatre, and also on Friday from 9 to 2:30. And some 40 papers will be delivered, and we're here to urge persons to attend in person. And if they can't do that, we have other means that they can take part in it. And we're delighted to have a number of persons here today who are actually presenting papers, so they can talk about their presentation. I'll come back in later on.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Dr. Smith. Let's start with a person who's no stranger to Radio Cayman, and For the Record, Miss Theresa Pitcairn. Good morning, ma'am. Welcome back to For the Record. How are you?
So, thank you very much, OC. I'm pleased to be here. I was so delighted by the hug that you gave me as I emerged and sashayed in. It's always a pleasure to be here. And unfortunately, I won't be with the group of esteemed persons that you have around the table today to participate in the conversation. So I will just jump right in. Roy, as I call him, the Honorable James Roy Bodden, he refers to me as his fifth sister. And he, along with folks like Dr. Macfield, assisted me in surviving the mental trauma of being intelligent when you live in this community. And I say it's traumatic. I mean, when I came in, I was so happy to see these young ladies introduce myself. They introduced themselves. And I was saying that when you speak the truth, it's in fact, it's countercultural, to be honest, in our community, because folks find the truth unsettling. And when you're telling the truth, you actually have to have a sense of intellectual integrity and moral honesty. This is something that has little value in our community. And then we ask the question, why is it that, Caymanians play a Generally speaking, the view that people tend to have is that Caymanians play a second-class role in their community. Some say third class. There was a commentary in Facebook by a young lady by the name of Faith Keeley, and I love her. She is from Bordentown, and let me just say it, a Bordentowner. And she commented on an experience that she had with her daughter, who looks like me, and where folks are openly making pejorative comments about her, not even knowing who she is. But do you imagine going to a community like Jamaica or Barbados, and I say that in the context of us being a part of the Caribbean, do you think folks who are visitors or folks who are not domiciled in those jurisdictions could go and make those pejorative comments about the natives? There are choice words for folks that, the terms that people would use to describe those people. So what I propose to do is use the Honorable Roy Borden's work to speak to those issues as they relate to the legal profession. So, yeah, is that kind of cool now?
That is definitely cool.
Yeah.
We also have in the studio with us Miss Latoya Francis, and I'm going to give you a short bio on her as well. She was born in the Cayman Islands, grew up in Jamaica. Since childhood, she has endeavored to leave this world a better place than she found it. She holds a master's degree in public administration with a focus on public and social policy, and also a Bachelor of Arts in accounting, youth leadership development, and a minor in nonprofit leadership. She has extensive experience in youth development and has held various leadership roles in this capacity. Her current pursuit involves running and developing Let Me Live, a nonprofit focused on youth empowerment and various entrepreneurial endeavors. Through a partnership with the YMCA, she works in a local high school twice a week, running a club called World Changers. Her passion for others has led her on many mission trips throughout the Caribbean and East Africa, and more recently, a CSR internship in India as well.
She did her master's at LSE.
Okay. And she did her master's was done at the prestigious London School of Economics. Much more I can tell you about her. Let's finish it. So she did that internship in India. Latoya is zealous about providing youth with the knowledge and opportunities to live an extraordinary life. Miss Francis, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. You have such a wide-ranging experience, even at your young age.
Thank you, Mr. ORRETT. It's definitely a pleasure to be a part of this first symposium honoring Dr. Roy Borden, and just to be among other Caymanian, members of academia, and who are not afraid to use their voice for those who can't speak for themselves. The paper that I'm going to be delivering is on education, and so I'm planning to look at, and using my own educational experience as well, to look at how our education system perpetuates social inequality. And at the point where I'm at now in the research phase, it's really answering, I think, 4 key questions. Why do students in the Cayman Islands with the same opportunities yield such different outcomes? Why did I feel like an outcast, or that I didn't belong in certain educational settings? And what is a true measure of intelligence? And lastly, is our education system truly set up for people like me?
When you say people like me, can you elaborate?
I would say people of color, a black woman who grew up in Swamp. I went to primary school here in Cayman. I did basic school in Jamaica. But when I came back here to do primary school, it was very apparent that there was something different about me. In Jamaica, I felt like I fit in. People treated me as such. But for some reason, when I came back home, from being on the school ground, dealing with issues of race, people, calling you the black girl or pick your head or, and then also having educators at the time, because I will say this, by the grace of God, since primary school, I've done well academically. Sometimes even without having to study, just being able to grasp things. And I remember being in primary school and an educator, there was a Rotary spelling bee, I'll never forget this, where everybody studied the words. I went into the office, spelled the words that I was given to spell, and I spelled the words better than everybody else in the room. But for some reason, I was told to stay back. And when I stayed back in that room, I was told that I was never going to be anything in life. That thing followed me all the way through my educational career. And it was just recently, I would say, through embracing therapy that I've been able to kind of leave those doubts behind. And of course, with trauma, like Ms. Teresa talked about just now, I think when it comes to dealing with trauma, you're going to have the flashbacks every now and again. But the fact that a system that is set up, so-called to be the equalizer of persons, really, as she said, being a Black Caymanian, sometimes it does feel like I'm a second-class citizen in my own country. So my hope is that through this paper, I'll kind of look at the history of education in Cayman, and then looking at what research has talked about when it comes to social inequality and social mobility through education systems, and hoping to come up with some suggestions on ways that we can move forward.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break, but at some point in time, before the show, this segment of the show is over, I want to come back to you and ask you about your international travels and your international pursuits, and whether or not your experiences, how your experiences there compared with your experiences in your own homeland. So we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will hear from another person who is no stranger to Radio Cayman and For the Record, Mr. Mario Ebanks. So please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
In 1858, John Miller, a native of Montreal, Canada, shipwrecked off the coast of Cuba. A locally owned schooner would bring him to Grand Cayman, where he settled for many years in the north side of the island. He would eventually move to Georgetown, and it was said that he was in charge of constructing the first north side Presbyterian church and school.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Rotary Central and you, our valued community, have undertaken remarkable accomplishments since October 1986. Over 34 years of activity and projects, making lives better and moving our beloved Cayman forward. Rotary Central has yet again committed to the advancement of these islands, this time in the area of mental health. We are proud to announce our partnership with Loud Silent Voices and donation of $50,000 to provide a community home for those recovering from various mental illnesses. Rotary Central and Loud Silent Voices, a signature project, taking care of the vulnerable, helping families manage, more than a shoulder, more than a helping hand, literally calming the storm. Rotary Central, care in every effort, sweat in every project, every dollar planted back in the community with your help. Rotary opens opportunities.
Health City is now open at Camana Bay, offering a wide range of specialties at our state-of-the-art Camana Bay Clinic. We are here to help you save time and feel better. We are open weekdays, weekends, and evenings for your convenience and are dedicated to reducing your wait time while improving your health. Friendly staff, expert care, lab services, and diagnostics in one convenient location from the hospital you know and trust. Health City at Camana Bay, within your reach.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vant Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vantmotors.com or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
When I was growing up in Cayman, Sundays was always a big day for our family. Everyone would go to Granny's house for Sunday dinner after church. Even today, I can still smell the aroma of all the delicious food we used to eat, especially the hot, fresh baked bread smothered in butter, topped off with our favorite pan cheese. These days, I don't have enough time to cook and bake, but I do my best to carry on the Sunday tradition of family meals, and being able to get hot, fresh bread with no preservatives or additives from Caribbean Bakery is a big help for me. Shh, don't tell them, they still think I baked it. Caribbean Bakery, now delivering every Sunday to McGrath's grocery store in Eastern Avenue and Marina Drive. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with ORRETT Connor.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have a full studio this morning. We're talking about the upcoming symposium on J.A. Roy Bawden, Public Intellectual Interrogating the Cayman Islands Society, being presented by the Cayman Islands National Cultural Foundation. Two-day event, Thursday the 24th of June, Friday the 25th of June. A host of illustrious presenters, something that you would not want to miss. It's for free. Well, we'll get you to give all those details, Dr. Livingston Smith, to provide all those details as well. So we have Mr. Mario Ebanks, who, no stranger to Radio Cayman. He will be presenting as well. Mr. Ebanks, good morning, sir. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Ossie, and to all of our panelists here and to all of our listeners. I just gone through the saddest weekend of my life. As many of you know, we laid our mother to rest on Saturday.
Condolences. Yes.
So people who may hear me may think that I'm not human by being here this morning, but I'm doing it in honor of my mother, because she would certainly be happy for me to be sitting here amongst intellectuals and scholars and at this discussion, and also on Thursday and Friday talking about this issue. And so when I got in touch with Dr. Livingston Smith several weeks ago, we were talking about it, and then my mother health took a downward spiral, and I said, I don't think I can make this. But last week I said to him, let's see how I feel on Sunday. And I just want to say that though I miss her, we miss her immensely, and I am human, I want to do this to encourage all those other people who are grieving in our community, as Steve mentioned early on, and to tell them that by the grace of God we can make it, and His resilience never has an end. And so my topic in this, I'm so happy to see this symposium, because for decades people like many of us around this table have advocated policy and talked about intellectual discussion and not getting into mudslinging and whatnot, but talking about deep issues. Of course, sometimes those things are not very popular. People prefer the gimmicks and the mud, but people like ourselves want to talk about policy and talk about the long term. And so I've always been an advocate of one of the things that Dr. Roy Bawden is also advocating for his career: human capital, education, skills building. And so the paper that I am going to be speaking to, and because of my bereavement in the last 3 weeks or so, I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but I have an outline and I'm going to make the best of it and I think do a good job. The paper is going to be Reform of the Labour and Human Capital Development Framework and Systems in the Cayman Islands. And that paper will look, the book of reference that I'll be looking at is Patronage, Personalities and Parties, Caymanian Politics from 1950 to 2000, and also From the Guard House to the Glass House, which talks about Honourable Roy Bawden and his move throughout the area of labour, and employment and human capital, because we know he's been in his career, and I'll talk in my paper about how, when I first met him, when he made an impact on me in particular, and also talk about the importance. One of the things that I'll talk about in my paper is that when you have a country that's a military leader, a first world country, they invest tremendous amount of their capital on defense, on defense, because they try, and I'll get to that. They try to make sure that they can have their armaments to protect their interests, because they're a military power. At Cayman Islands, we're a service economy. We need to invest more money on our people, on skills, on human capital. So military powers invest on armaments and military power. We have to invest in human capital. So I have always admired Dr. Roy Bawden in many areas, including his Christian walk and his chairmanship of the Church of God Chapel movement now. But he was regarded in politics as I think they call him the architect of flowery language. But he's also an architect of human capital development. And so when he was a MLA and got elected in 1984, and then he became a minister, I think in 2000. He served as Minister of Employment and Education until 2005. And he tried to pilot, and he was also one of the architects of the labor law that was passed in 1985, I think it was. And shortly after he was elected with colleagues in 1984. And in 2005, they tried to put in place an employment law. And a law was passed, I think it was in December 2004, I believe it was passed in the House by a slim majority, but it never came into force, sadly. And so I am going to then try to interrogate and interpret Dr. Roy Bawden's work by talking about what I think he wanted to see in human capital development. And I'll be moving through a number of different scenarios and initiatives using that book and those works, and to try to, like I say, take some liberty in interpreting what I think he meant and what he tried to do, and what together the vision that we share. So I hope people would come out to this symposium, and I hope people would take the time, because we have to raise the level of intellectual debate in this country if we're going to move forward. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Susan, top of the hour for 8 o'clock news. When we return, we're going to hear from others. You may be wondering, how come we're not hearing Dr. Steve Macfield's voice? He's here in the studio with us, and you will hear from him as well. But you will also be hearing from another young Caymanian, Miss Catherine Wells. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time by Foster's is 7:59.
When you're on the go, let the Island Supermarket shop for you.
To start, head to fosters.ky/go.
Then shop all of your favorite products online, from produce and seafood to grocery and frozen, all picked by our team of shoppers ready to go.
Choose next day curbside pickup from Foster's Cayman Bay or delivery island-wide.
To get your order started, visit fosters.ky/go.
This is Groceries on the Go.
And we are Foster's Go. Shop online anytime.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a not-for-profit, member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. We have an all-in expense ratio of less than 1%, over 20,000 members, and $490 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s, and today we are still strong, secure, and are here for our employees and employers alike. If you would like to join or require further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Now that the latest shipment of COVID-19 vaccines has arrived, the Cayman Islands government is urging all residents to get one step closer to borders reopening with a new communications campaign. Radio Cayman's April Cummings has more.
The new One Step Closer campaign aims to inspire the community to get vaccinated for COVID-19 by showing the audience a snapshot of the future. The images include travel adventures, reuniting with families abroad, and having the peace of mind of protection from COVID-19 for those working on the front line, not to mention the entire community. While prior COVID-19 related campaigns have focused on emergency messaging urging people to stay home and stay safe, this government campaign aims to provoke an emotive response by looking to the future. Many of the shots were taken in the Cayman Islands by local photographer Rebecca Davidson, and all of the models used in the shoot are representing themselves going about their everyday activities, portraying their dreams for the future and how the vaccine would help them get back to normal. The campaign is set to launch across a number of media channels through social media, retail, roadside, and across private channels. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
The leader of the opposition weighs in after a local news agency posts a video from an incident in February 2020 from which the Speaker of the House ended up pleading guilty to assault and disorderly conduct charges. In response to the video, which shows the Honorable Makiva Bush involved in an altercation involving a female manager at Coral Beach restaurant who was hospitalized after the incident, the Honorable Roy McTaggart has stressed, quote, "The type of behavior displayed in the video is not acceptable and cannot be condoned. No official statement has been issued by government, nor have requests for comments from the Speaker of the House." In December, Mr. Bush received a 60-day suspended sentence and a fine. And the inaugural Cayman Art Week launches in July. Radio Cayman's Felicia Rankin-Solins reports.
Cayman Art Week is an annual week-long program of art exhibition tours, galleries, events, and open studios. The project seeks to raise visibility for the arts sector through a joined-up platform connecting collectors directly with creators. Developed by director and chief curator at the National Gallery of the Cayman Islands, Natalie Urquhart, it was created in response to what Urquhart sees as a need for a hub to share information about Cayman's commercial art sector. The long-term idea for Art Week is to develop a cultural tourism product that can attract international collectors. However, this first edition will function exclusively on a local scale because of ongoing travel restrictions. Already, there are 25 confirmed venues: the gallery at the Ritz-Carlton Grand Cayman, Parcel 110, Guy Harvey Gallery, and Pure Art Gallery, to name a few. Following the annual event, the CAW website will continue to function as a one-stop place to access knowledge about how and where to buy Cayman art, with featured local experts, blogs, and news about Caymanian art events. Cayman Art Week is scheduled for the 7th to the 10th of July, 2021. For Radio Cayman News, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
To learn more, head to CaymanArtWeek.com. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News with Neil Nunes. The organisers of the Olympic Games in Tokyo have fixed the spectator limit at 50% of venue capacity, or a maximum of 10,000 people. The figure does not include VIPs and corporate sponsors. Scientists had recommended holding the Games in empty stadiums. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez has confirmed plans to pardon 9 jailed Catalan separatist leaders, saying he'll put this to his cabinet on Tuesday. The 9 were found guilty of sedition for their role in a failed bid for independence in 2017. German federal prosecutors say a university research scientist has been arrested on suspicion of spying for Russia. The man, a Russian citizen identified as Ilnur N., was said to have met a Russian agent at least 3 times since October. He's alleged to have passed on information obtained from the German university in return for cash. The trials began in Jordan of 2 senior establishment figures accused of sedition related to an alleged coup plot in early April. Bassem Awadallah, a former head of the royal court, and Sharif Hassan bin Zayed, a member of the royal family, were arrested in early April as Jordan was shaken by reports of a conspiracy centered around Prince Hamza, the half-brother of King Abdullah. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. News is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
At Healthcare Pharmacy, they know you're busy. That's why they're making it even more convenient to refill and pick up your prescriptions. Everyone knows about the amazing service at Healthcare Pharmacy Grand Harbor, but did you know that Healthcare Pharmacy in Governor Square is now open and available for those who work and live in West Bay, 7 Mile Beach, or Snug Harbor? And even better, you can click on healthcarepharmacy.ky and refill and transfer prescriptions online and pick up at either location. Healthcare Pharmacy Grand Harbor and their newest location, Healthcare Pharmacy Governor Square, now more convenient than ever. healthcarepharmacy.ky.
The CXC Learning Hub is the Caribbean's #1 e-learning platform for the complete suite of regionally and internationally recognized qualifications from the Caribbean Examinations Council. The CXC Learning Hub provides free 24/7 access to multimedia content including past papers, e-books, syllabuses, demo e-tests, subject reports, and digital toolkits containing videos, infographics, simulations, and more. Get the learning resources you need to prepare prepare for exams, all in one place. Visit learninghub.cxc.org today.
Student registration for the 2021-2022 academic school year is open to the public from 8th April to 30th June 2021. Students must now be registered online at schools.edu.ky. Parents will have the ability to enter their students' information and securely upload all relevant documents. If you need assistance, please contact the Department of Education Services at 945-1199 or email edu.registration@gov.ky.
The 8:10 a.m. Weather Report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
For over 100 years, more than 5.8 million people across the Americas and the Caribbean have placed their trust in Pan American Life Insurance Group. We have delivered on our promise and have proven that we are more than an insurance company. We are family. To learn more about our first-in-class individual and group life, disability and accident solutions, please visit Pan American International Insurance Corporation at Unit 221, Cannon Place East, North Sound Road, Grand Cayman, or contact us at 949-8304 and visit us online at www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
A pleasant good morning. Let's take a look at the very latest weather report. Current temperature is 84 degrees. Relative humidity is 83%. The barometric pressure, 30.01 inches and falling. The wind is east at 4 knots. Overnight low temperature was 80 degrees. Synopsis indicate moderate winds and seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours as a ridge of high-pressure system lingers north of the Caribbean Sea. Sahara dust over the Caribbean Sea will continue to contribute to hazy conditions today over the Cayman area. Radar images show isolated showers around the Cayman area moving northwest. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is issuing advisories on Tropical Storm Claudette. The system is northeast of a monitoring area, and further information can be found at www.nhc.noaa.gov. This storm poses no threat to the Cayman Islands. Now the forecast for today and tonight, calling for partly cloudy skies with dust haze and a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will be in the upper 80s today and will fall to the upper 70s tonight. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. We're presently at a high tide, and the next low tide will be this afternoon at 2 minutes past 1. High tide again tonight at 7:54. The sun will set this evening at 5 minutes past 7 and will rise tomorrow morning at 5:49. And the outlook is calling for an increase in cloudiness and showers from Wednesday morning as a tropical wave is expected to move into the western Caribbean.
The 8:10 a.m. Weather Report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
For over 100 years, more than 5.8 million people across the Americas and the Caribbean have placed their trust in Pan American Life Insurance Group. We have delivered on our promise and have proven that we are more than an insurance company. We are family. To learn more about our first-in-class individual and group life, disability and accident solutions, please visit Pan American International Insurance Corporation at Unit 221, Cannon Place East, North Sound Road, Grand Cayman, or contact us at 949-8304 and visit us online at www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strongies, The Cayman Strong series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving your goals is a very rewarding feeling, but at times can feel very frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting your goals, break it down. Once the long-term goals are set, work backwards to set smaller and more manageable goals. These should be specific, measurable, and achievable. For example, study in the library for 1 hour 3 times per week instead of study more. Consider what you need to do daily, weekly, or by the end of the year in order to succeed. Smaller goals allow you to focus on the essential steps today to ensure you are prepared when tomorrow's opportunities become available.
Change your thinking and change your life.
Radio Cayman's Cayman Strong series was brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at what's happening on our roads. Busy traffic on Cool Road. Some delays expected as you head on down to Georgetown. And traffic is bumper to bumper on the Linford Pearson Highway. A lot of patience needed as you head on down to Georgetown. Slight delays expected. And traffic is busy coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. And steady traffic on Huldah Avenue. And as we look to Godfrey Dixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic flowing moderately. And in and out of Georgetown on Shedden Road looking pretty good. And light traffic on Owen Roberts Drive. On Edward Street, downtown Georgetown, traffic is flowing moderately. And a steady flowing traffic coming from the Butterfield roundabout heading towards the Industrial Park area. And steady traffic coming off the Essely Tibbetts Highway heading to the Butterfield roundabout. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12 o'clock. We'll give you another traffic report. Have a good morning and drive safe, Cayman Islands.
When you're tight on time and budget, but big on flavor, Subway's Meal of the Day hits the spot. Enjoy daily meals on classic sandwiches like tuna, Black Forest ham, meatball marinara, and more. Starting at $6.25 for 6-inch meals and $8.75 for footlongs. You can get Subway's Meal of the Day. Enjoy a different sandwich on a different day for the same price. Mix it up with cookies or chips or waffle fries for the same price. Subway, eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
The CXC Learning Hub is the Caribbean's #1 e-learning platform for the complete suite of regionally and internationally recognized qualifications from the Caribbean Examinations Council. The CXC Learning Hub provides free 24/7 access to multimedia content including past papers, e-books, syllabuses, demo e-tests, subject reports, and digital toolkits containing videos, infographics, simulations, and more. Get the learning resources you need to prepare for exams all in one place. Visit learninghub.cxc.org today.
The HSA Specialist Clinic has relocated to a new, modern, state-of-the-art facility at Smith Road Center to offer you a better patient experience. Receive care from top specialists in chiropractic, complementary and alternative medicine, neurology, ENT, urology, pain management, and more. Our orthopedic and telemedicine clinics remain at the Cayman Islands Hospital campus. Please remember to bring your own face mask when visiting any HSA location. Visit our website, hsa.ky, to learn more. At the HSA, you matter to us.
Radio Cayman News.
The government can and should announce a firm reopening.
The quarantine is being reduced to 5 days for incoming travelers who have completed vaccination.
We're looking at an operating surplus of approximately 175 million.
The arrival of another 12,000 doses of vaccine.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record with ORRETT Connor.
Initiating system. For information that matters. For the record with ORRETT Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're discussing the Cayman Islands National Cultural Foundation Symposium, J.A. Roy Bawden, Public Intellectual Interrogating the Caymanian Society. We have some of the presenters for this symposium in the room, and before I go back to the presenters, Dr. Smith, I want you to remind our listening and viewing audience about the dates, about the venue, and about the freeness.
Excellent. Right. So it's going to be this Thursday from 9 to 5:30 at the Harkwell Theatre, and also on Friday from 9 to 2:30. We have around 40 persons who will be delivering papers surrounding issues raised by Mr. Bawden in his books. And we use the word interrogate because it's going to be just that. And so it's free to the public. Some persons might just be able to come and take in some of these sessions. I'll be delighted if you come for both days. So we're really entreating persons to come and be part of it's a conversation we're having.
Yes.
So after presentation, they're going to have a question and answer session where they can ask questions and be a part of the discussion. It's going to be really good, I think.
I'm sure it will be, definitely. So one of the presenters, another young Caymanian, Miss Catherine Wells, and she will be presenting on the politics of the Cayman Islands. When might it evolve? Thinking through the issues and using J.A. Roy Bawden's works. Catherine, she's an alumnus of the International College of the Cayman Islands, graduated in February of 2020 with a master's degree in human resources management. She was awarded the awardee for the most outstanding capstone project titled External Influences, How the Cost of Living in the Cayman Islands Affects Employees' Salaries and How Lowering the Cost of Living Benefits Employees and Organizations. She was also the awardee for Outstanding Academic Achievement in Human Resources at the master's level. She also holds a bachelor's degree in business management with a minor in human resource management and an associate's degree in business administration from the University College of the Cayman Islands. Professionally, she has worked in the banking industry for the past 13 and a half years as a human resource administrator and a financial administrator. And I'm not going to say any more about her. I'm going to let her tell you, and the rest of the story will come from her. Ms. Wells, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me, and welcome again to the other panelists. So the paper that I'm delivering, as you stated, is on the politics in the Cayman Islands and asking the question, when will it evolve? And also interrogating whether it has evolved at all since the 1950s to the 2000s, as Dr. Roy Bawden's book is covering, because his cover is from 1950 to 2000. One of the biggest areas that I am interested in researching and finding out is basically the genealogy of our politicians, because I find it important to explore that. Because obviously in today's politics, there may be at least two or three who are just following in the footsteps of their great-grandfathers, their fathers, but there's also some that have been mentored by a previous politician and has continued to take on the works that they have done. So it's essentially like taking on the family business, continue to carry it out. But also I just wanted to, explore whether or not it has evolved in any way, our politics. I must say that his book is not for the faint of heart. I can tell you that for certain. I've had to start reading it in small doses because if you're someone who, pays attention to everything that has happened within our history and you take it to heart and, you're passionate about it, you do care about it, you're not I guess I would say a status quo keeper who just goes with the flow, and you're someone who critically thinks about why things are happening within your country, you're going to get extremely angry when you're reading this book. You will, there was times when I was reading the book and I had to literally close it fast and, okay, collect myself, open the book up and read it again. Continue reading it because there's so much facts and so much truth, and there's so much that Dr. Bodden illuminates for you, and that, you want to, for most people, you want to ignore it and say that's just the way it is. But unfortunately, in order for us to evolve and become a society that we are so desperately seeking to become, we have to confront all of the darkness that has basically existed within our society and our community and within politics, because politics is what has led this country. It's not just the people, the workers, it's politics. And, it's basically the architect of where we are to get us where we are today, basically. So that is what I am researching, and will deliver the paper on the evolution or the lack of evolution, I would say, in our politics.
Thank you very much for that. Doc, we're going to get you into the flow of things as well. Of course, I also want to point out that we have other guests in the studio, and they will be on the next segment of the show. We will be talking to them, and I will introduce them at that point in time, but they're in the studio with us as well. Over to you, Doc.
Thank you for asking me this morning again, and thank you for all the people listening and for the record and in the Cayman diaspora. Yes, I don't know where to start because Roy has been a colleague of Dr. Roy had been a colleague of mine, and I don't know whether I should attack him from as a professor or as a politician or as a scholar, because he has been so many things at the same time. Yes. But one of the things that he has been speaking about is the transition of Cayman into the 21st century, into the modern world, and especially he has spoken about the Westminster system of government, and also how the Caymanian politics developed from the 17th century. And he has also chronicled some of the lives of some of the players on our political scene, like Mr. Ormond O.L. Panton and Warren Conley and one of his mentors, Mr. C.A. Clifton Hunter. And I was fascinated with Roy's works, and Roy speaks about the lack of political maturity, the lack of development, political maturity, and that fascinated me because we had spoken about that so many times, right? Myself, Roy Gilbert, Dr. Frank McPhail, and Oswald Rankin, who sort of dropped out of the off the table and went into retirement early. I want to talk about whether we should or whether we shouldn't move towards an independent system of government. It seems to me that, for me, it seems to me that we had a great chance in 1962 when Jamaica, when we were being administered by Jamaica as if we were part of Jamaica, and the governor of Jamaica came down and outlined to us our options, and we at that time had the opportunity, because we had the maturity, we had the leadership under O.L. Panton and the NDP, the National Democratic Party, and the Christian Democratic Party were well on their way. And in fact, the parties were formed in order to facilitate the new development that was coming after 1962 when Jamaica left the Federation and Cayman was a part of Jamaica. And for your listeners, Cayman was never at that time a colony. It was never a colony. It was administered by Jamaica. It was part of Jamaica as if it was a part of Jamaica. And the problem that happened that day, on the 18th and 19th of January 1962, when Governor Blackburn came down and explained to the legislature, which was in the town hall at the time, and all the people, and for those who don't know, hundreds of people were seated out in the streets around the town hall with loudspeakers from inside to hear what the governor had to say. In essence, what the governor was saying that, listen, we are going into independence in August, and therefore, since we are your administrators, we would like to give you the options what you can do for yourself. You can go into you can have full internal self. We will give you full internal self-government. We will give you a lieutenant governor, a chief minister, a cabinet, and you will be fully running your own affairs. And they said the only thing that you will not be able to do for yourself is have a defense force and external offices. But because we are going to independence, we would provide those facilities for you at a cost of £20,000 a year. We will provide defense for you. We will provide offices in different jurisdictions for you, like in Jamaica, UK, and so forth. The other option is that you can go and you can be a crown colony directly ruled by Britain. There was speeches by the different people who were present, the Westermen, the MLAs, and one man changed the whole tenor of the argument that day. It was a man, the late Dr. Roy MacTaggart. What happened that day is people says that we were going into independence with Jamaica. That is not true. What happened that day is Dr. Roy MacTaggart got up and says, what the governor explaining to us, if we accept that, if we accept to be a crown colony, a independent country, full internal self-government with our own government set up, our own cabinet, that we were going into independence with Jamaica. And he put it in simple Seaman's language, in Seaman's metaphor. What he said was like, listen, if you have 5 men get a call from national bulk carriers to go to work, Jamaica's going to want to have 3 of them. And Jamaica might want to produce our passports for us and issue our passport to us. And then he says that we have never, we were never happy with Jamaica being our administrator after the British government passed the Cayman Art in 1863, which drove us under Jamaica and what the act said that the Jamaica legislature would have to make laws for the peace, order, and good governance of the Cayman. He changed the whole tenor of the argument that day. And when it came to the vote that day, the people voted that day by referendum. It was the first referendum in the Cayman Islands. They called for the vote. Who is all those who wants to go into independence with Jamaica? That's how it was put. The question was put. Hold up their hands. And they held up their hands. And all those who wants to be a crown colony directly rule from London hold up their hands. And the crown colony people carried the day. And the Jamaica and the people the people voted against going into full internal self-government with eventually toward independence. That's how it was put. I want to peruse that argument to see whether or not we made the right decision and whether or not we're ready now to go into a different direction.
Got to interrupt you there, Doc, because we have to go to a commercial break, but you will be with us for the duration of the show as well. Dr. Smith, any quick comments you want to make before we make the transition?
Definitely. I want to encourage persons to attend the symposium. It's this Thursday from 9 to 5:30 and Friday from 9 to 2:30. There are a number of presentations. You can go to the CNCF's website to see the program. And you can also, we're going to have access from GIS for persons who can be at work and still see the proceedings.
Excellent. Yeah. All right, folks, we have to take a commercial break. When we return, we will have some more presenters in the studio with us, so please stay tuned. Don't change that dial. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Make your house into a home. Welcome to Brand Source Home Gallery, your source for premium products and a premium experience. We'll design and install your dream kitchen with crafted cabinets, complemented with elegant appliances. We'll fill it with quality houseware and cookware. Custom-designed closet and storage solutions organize and beautify any area. And with the finest bedding, you'll get a perfect night's sleep knowing Brand Source Home Gallery has everything you need to make your house a home.
Planning for the hurricane season can be stressful, especially because COVID-19 remains a concern. To help you safely prepare, here's some tips from the Public Health Department. Have a fully stocked first aid kit. Make sure you have face coverings, hand sanitizers, and disinfectants should you need to evacuate to a shelter. Ensure a sufficient supply of medications for people with illnesses. Ensure immunizations are up to date, and when eligible, take your COVID-19 vaccine. Ensure a sufficient supply of food and clean water for every member of your family. For more guidance to update your emergency hurricane plans due to coronavirus, visit www.caymanprepared.gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Public Health Department in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with ORRETT Connor.
Very interesting.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. If I sound a little bit disorganized here, yes, I am to a certain extent, trying to get everyone seated. We have a full house, as well. And I'm going to introduce you to another person who is no stranger to the Cayman Islands, no stranger to Radio Cayman, Mr. Henry Mutu, Mr. Henry Mutu. Yes. Morning, Mr. Mutu.
Morning.
How are you, sir?
Morning.
Tell us about this really beautiful symposium that is really going to take place. I would say that historical in certain respects as well.
Yes. Well, I think Dr. Smith and I had a conversation about this particular one, but for quite a long time now, the foundation has always been interested in the work that hides itself behind, as Dave used to say, behind the breadfruit tree. The kind of things that are happening in Cayman, which some people would probably prefer not to let people know. I just a quick story, Dr. Steve likes stories. When we did gosh, I think it might have been in the 1980s, sort of 82 or 83 or something like that. We did, Dr. Frank wrote a play called Time Longer Than Rope. And I remember it being produced. I didn't direct it, I designed it at the time. And I remember one critic wrote that wrote about the character, forgetting that the play may have reflected reality, but a play is a play. You know, a play is not necessarily reality, but it does reflect. If you're a good artist, it will reflect what is happening. And I think Dr. Frank, having, you know, had a kind of groundings in London, in the playgrounds and so on, and he knew what was going on up in London in terms of racism. And I think, obviously, with reflections of that on his society, when he came back home, he wrote these plays. And so when he did it, I remember the critics saying that this is not Cayman, this play is not Cayman, that we don't know anything about sort of voodoo or obeah and these kinds of things. And so during the time that I've been there anyway, we've always been interested in more than what is happening, but in the work of the artist. And this is what my paper will essentially be about. While it will be, in a sense, about Roy on a broader scale, the paper is really about how artists have always led the way in making the qualitative changes in the Caribbean, of how we see this region, because they have probably the most invested, because they're not, artists genuinely don't, not that they don't want money, but they don't work for money, in the sense that they're not grabbing and trying to make as much money as they can.
Yes.
And they will do their work regardless of whether they have money or not. Artists, you just can't help it. And although people don't see Mr. Barton as an artist, he is an artist. Because the concerns that he has are artists' concerns.
And this is life imitating art.
Life imitating art. I mean,
Yes.
there's a poem I started people with which from a Barbadian, a short poem which says, it compares paint on what they're doing, painters. And he says, painter on the sidewalk, paint, paint, paint. Painter don't paint variation. Painter don't paint studiation. Painter don't paint the nation. And so artists, the argument I'm making is that artists don't have the luxury in the Caribbean, because of our colonial past and our colonial present, because we have probably as strong a colonial presence as we have ever had, not just in Cayman, all over the region, because we might think that, you know, we'll dance and have carnival and think that we're free, but the truth is there are people meeting and planning your future. And I think that artists are very aware of this, and they try to say things. And the fact that they don't get the support in saying the things that they want to say, it's what I essentially want to talk about. But the foundation is, we're very interested in this. I mean, we work with Mr. Barton when I think he might have even been in politics then. But we have a strict thing at the foundation where we don't get involved in any political party. We support anybody who's an artist and who does quality work. So even when Mr. Barton was involved in politics, we published his first book. When he sent them to me, I looked at them and said, "This has to be published," and we published it because they were important. And since then, of course, we've continued to support his work. But I think the foundation is pleased to have done this. We are pleased that Dr. Smith, came essentially the idea, let's do it now. And I believe that what we, following this, because I tend to think a little forward all the time, following this, we need to look at some of the artists in the Cayman Islands who have had difficulty doing their work and being accepted for the things that they're saying, which looks at the future, not just at the present. The Caribbean has always been a place, we've always been trying to self-actualize. We've always been trying to find that point in our lives when there's a sense of settling, when we could be who we are, how we want to be. And that's going to be difficult, you know. One can take any of the great artists, whether you go to Marley with his songs, whether you go before him to the Calypsonians like Sparrow, singing things like I'm a Slave, you know. And the sad thing about these artists is that the region, we don't know them. We don't know them. We know Marley and we know the musicians because the radio stations play a lot of them, and so you know them, and perhaps they're enough. But you have other people who are writing, poetry. I mean, Derek Walcott is perhaps between him and Edward Buffett, and Martin Carter, probably the three premier poets in the English-speaking Caribbean. Of course, you have Nicholas Guillen and these other guys, but people don't know them except the people who go to universities where they're on the syllabus. And after university, the very people who study them don't read them again because you have to have a love for finding beauty. We don't read them. Our children don't read them. They're not. I was really very lucky because I picked up Earl Lovelace's book, the first book in 1962. He wrote it. He wrote it when Trinidad and Tobago was getting independence. And he said that and Eric Williams wrote, he at the time he wrote one called The History of the Peoples of Trinidad and Tobago. And Eric said he couldn't allow Trinidad to go into independence without having a book with its own history. So he wrote that small book, and then of course his big book is Capitalism and Slavery and his speeches. Anyway, but that's generally, we are very pleased to do this. We want to thank the committee and all of these erudite individuals who are coming on to talk about Mr. Bodden's work, and I hope it's a success. I hope we get a lot of people to listen in.
Certainly you will. Okay, folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to hear from doctors Christopher Williams and Stephanie Fullerton Cooper. Also, we will be hearing from Mrs. Lorraine Bob Stewart. They will be talking about their presentations at this symposium taking place on Thursday and Friday at the Harquail. It's going to be 9 to 5 event, and you'll hear more about it because we will have Dr. Livingston Smith update you on all of the details as well. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Health City is now open at Cayman Bay, offering a wide range of specialties at our state-of-the-art Cayman Bay Clinic. We are here to help you save time and feel better. We are open weekdays, weekends, and evenings for your convenience and are dedicated to reducing your wait time while improving your health. Friendly staff, expert care, lab services, and diagnostics in one convenient location from the hospital you know and trust. Health City at Cayman Bay, within your reach.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough, and sore throat to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Cybercrime happens online or through the technology we use every day. Anyone can be a victim of cybercrime, whether you are a young person being bullied or harassed online, or an older person or business who's been scammed out of money or personal data. Cybercrime is an issue that touches all of us. The Cayman Islands government has therefore created an online resource to help keep you cyber safe in an ever-changing world.
In online situations, it is better to be cyber safe than sorry. Learn now to protect yourself against cybercrime. Visit gov.ky/cybersafe.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Puritan Cleaners.
Puritan Cleaners would like to remind customers the closing time for all stores is 5:30 p.m. Savannah Countryside, 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Elgin Avenue, 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Puritan Cleaners, 337 Eastern Avenue. Drive-through, rain or shine. 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Now 10% off prepaid on $20 orders and up. Household and wedding dresses remain at standard offer. 10% off on prepaid orders. Drop off and transfer for pickup from any of the 3 Puritan stores for your convenience. Call 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
Are you a first-generation college student looking to pursue an associate or bachelor's degree this fall 2021 semester? The Community Engagement Program at UCCI provides financial aid to Caymanian and resident students who are committed to using education as a means to improve the Cayman Islands. Eligible students can receive up to $2,500 in funding per year. The application period is now open. Submit your online application by July 16th at ucci.edu.ky/CEP.
The Cayman National Cultural Foundation invites you to participate in an open dialogue about the writings of Roy Borden, Caymanian historian, educator, and author. Public intellectual interrogating the Caymanian society takes place on June 24th and 25th at the Harcourt Theatre. This free symposium will feature local and international speakers presenting their interpretations of Borden's books and the issues he raises. Join us for exciting and enlightening discussions about Cayman's history, culture, economy, and politics. Visit artscayman.org for more information. Brought to you in partnership with the Committee for the Promotion of Research and Cayman Scholarship and sponsored by Radio Cayman.
For the record with ORRETT Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with ORRETT Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. If you're a gambler, if you're a poker player, we have a full house in the studio this morning. A full house in the studio. So we're going to hear now from Mrs. Lorraine Bob, and we're going to ask her to tell us what she will be presenting at the J.A. Roy Borden Symposium. Mrs. Bob.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. At the symposium, I would be looking at the topic of migration.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be analyzing it against the backdrop of Roy Borden's work. And I believe that migration is a very important theme as it relates to the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be basically focusing on the different migration approaches that have been used to explain and put Caribbean migration in a framework, because I believe we have to have a multi-level and interdisciplinary approach for studying migration in the Caribbean. But I will be focusing on Jamaican women.
Okay.
Yes, their migration to the Cayman Islands. So what I will do in that paper, I will start off with the basic approaches that have been used historically, but I will show they are not applicable and realistic in explaining the conditions under which Jamaican women have migrated to the Cayman Islands, because we need to adopt, and the literature shows, a transnational perspective is more applicable to explaining Jamaican women's migration to the Caribbean. And we see, for example, if we look at, so the transnational approach basically looks at, and of course there's many levels to it, but it looks at migration being circulatory in nature. And when we're talking about circulatory, it's showing that migration is not permanent. Mm-hmm. So if we look at, for example, Jamaican women who come across here to work in hotels, or let's say domestic, or even teachers,
Mm-hmm.
because we have migration policies such as rollover and 1 and 2 year work permits, that basically necessitates that they've got to return back to Jamaica. So when that happens, we discuss the area of dual identities, because they identify as both Caymanian and Jamaican. And we also look at the dynamics of family life, how they're able to maintain their families back home. And we also look at technology. I'm just giving a summary here, but it goes into a lot of detail.
That's exactly what we want.
We're also looking
You don't want to give away everything.
Yeah, we'll also look at how the role technology plays as well. And something I'd be touching on is the power of nation states declining, because what also happens with the transnational approach, it shows that citizens have now divided their loyalty between the states and the host state and their home country.
Mm-hmm.
So I can bet you, if you ask a Jamaican, and my mom is one, so I know, you're Caymanian now, right? Or you're American now, right? Yes, but I'm Jamaican. So that's what this theory speaks to, and it explains the power of culture and identity in the migration process. So it's not as we would say, economically deterministic as previous theories, such as the historical structuralist approach, which was the dominant migration theory in the post-World War period. So we would be looking at that, but we'd be looking at more relevant at the transnational approach. What I will also be looking at is network theory in migration, because this shows the agency of Caribbean women. In my case, I'm focusing on Jamaican women. Quite often in the literature, it portrays these women as victims, but network theory shows that Jamaican women, Caribbean women they display or utilize a lot of agency. We discuss what is called a social capital theoretical paradigm. And when we're talking about social capital, we are looking at the network of relationships they have in the host country that encourages them to migrate. So you speak to any migrant in the Cayman Islands, whether they're Filipino, Jamaican, and they'll tell you, look, we came here because of obvious circumstances, economic circumstances, but we had a network. I knew someone who basically encouraged me to come and said I could stay with them. They will help me to find a job. So this theory basically shows, network theory shows how friends or acquaintances in the host country acts as a catalyst or an incentive for especially working class women to migrate, because they're able to share a room with somebody, that sort of thing. So we would be looking at that. And again, this approach is very realistic in nature, and it shows and especially it shows how it facilitates women.
Okay. Will you be looking also or examining the historical perspective of migration? And your focus now is on women, but will you be juxtaposing that against migration that took place before, where it was more male-oriented, male-led, as opposed to female-led?
No, unfortunately, I would not be doing that at that time, but I would be looking at post-colonial theory.
Okay.
And in that case, I would not be looking at women per se, but I would be looking at it in a general sense. So I would basically be looking at Roy Bodden's story and locating it in that dynamic, and it would briefly examine the historical, going back to that era. So no, to your question, but it's something I would consider for the future. But one last thing I would like to say about the migration theory I'd be focusing on, I would also be locating it in what we call global city theorizing by Saskia Sassen. And basically her theorizing speaks about migration in financial centers. So even though the Cayman Islands is not considered a global city, in her theorizing, it does parallel some of the qualities of a global city. And she basically looks at a global city as where work is coordinated, financial flows, where firms and markets operate. So it is precisely a global city is the site where global processes get activated. So we know, being a financial center, the Cayman Islands mirrors that global city. But the point I want to make is that within a global city, there is a high demand for labor, especially female labor, low-wage labor, and that also acts as a catalyst for women to come. So even professional women who were teachers in Jamaica, for example, during structural adjustment periods, these were professionals, but when they came to Cayman Islands, the work they got was a domestic or cleaning. This theory speaks to that. And they also look at dynamics of race and class in terms of the global division of labor. So I know I'm saying a lot,
no, that's okay.
But it's very...
You still have about 2 minutes to go. I'm going to let you go until 9 o'clock.
It's quite integrated. It's quite integrated. And I will break it down and explain it point by point. But I would just wanted to give a summary.
No, excellent. Mr. Mutter, anything you want to add? We still have about a minute before we go to our break. 2 minutes, actually.
No, I mean, it's a wonderful. From what she just read, I'm just looking forward to hearing the entire thing because because artists, this whole thing of migration and artists trying to find work wherever they can go, and quite apart from physical movement of artists, it's the whole movement of their mind. It's the movement of the kind of work that they are prepared to do, what they are prepared to compromise to be able to sing the songs that are going to make money. That's huge for me, because I think that at the root of a lot of our problems is to self-actualize, to find out who we are. Where is that space, and when is that time that we are ever going to be able to sit down and say, here we are, nobody's on our backs and so on. That probably will never happen. Maybe it's like Shakespeare say, it's a consummation devoutly to be wished. But I don't know that we're going to get there. But I think the artistic temperament says that we know we're not going to get there to the excellence that we want, but the search must go on. And not that it must go on from a point of view, and I have to do it for this. It's because your soul would not allow you to let it go, because the whole idea of an artist is to be free in not just your body, but in your head. And I think that one of our major problems in the region, and this is not just about us, it's about the whole dynamics of how the world has come together, and how there's like I said, there's a group that plans our future. We might sit down here and think that all these things we are doing is nice, but as soon as people hear you say certain things, they already start to plan. It's like moving the chess game around, and that's what has happened throughout. I mean, as soon as you get to a point, I mean, I faced it because I know. I mean, when I was in Guyana, I was going to a conference in St. Lucia. And the conference was only about, as far as I'm concerned, it was about theatre. I was a young man, 22 or whatever, wanting to really grab on and learn about theatre. And it was the first conference. And we made the mistake of putting the first conference of Caribbean theatre activists. And somebody heard the word activists. And then my leave was approved. And then the next day, I got a letter saying the leave is, we rescind the leave. You can't go. And I said, well, why can't I go? We can't tell you. And I said, well, I'm going. You'll have to take me off the plane. And I went. And it's the best thing I ever did.
Excellent.
Because they fired me, and then I left.
Top of the hour. Headline news at 9 o'clock, and I did promise you that we would hear from Dr. Christopher Williams, but we did switch that around to make some other accommodations, but we will hear from Dr. Williams when we return, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Government reported the results of 782 COVID-19 tests on Friday. 7 came back positive. All were travelers in isolation. Before the weekend, more than 87,000 vaccinations have been given in total in the Cayman Islands. Iran's president-elect has welcomed the negotiations with world powers aimed at reviving a 2015 nuclear deal, but said they must guarantee national interests. At his first news conference since his victory in Friday's election, Ibrahim Raisi promised he will not allow the talks in Vienna to be dragged out. He also insisted that Iran's ballistic missile program was, quote, not negotiable. The nuclear deal has been close to collapse since the U.S. abandoned it and reinstated sanctions 3 years ago. And Sweden's parliament has passed a vote of no confidence in Prime Minister Stefan Löfven. A total of 181 of the 349 MPs voted in favor of the motion, with 51 abstentions. It's the first time in Swedish history that a prime minister has been ousted in such a vote. The Social Democrat leader has a week to resign or call a snap election. The decision came after a dispute over rent controls led the Left Party to withdraw its support for the coalition. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
For the record, with ORRETT Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with ORRETT Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning, and welcome back to For the Record. We have a studio full of intellectuals this morning, PhDs, everything in the studio with us. And I did promise you that we would hear from Dr. Christopher Williams. We also want to hear from Dr. Stephanie Fullerton Cooper, because she has to leave us a little bit early, but we don't want to put Dr. Williams off too long again. So, Doc, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record. Tell us about your presentation, sir.
Thank you for having me. So my paper explores the legacies of slavery in the Cayman Islands, and Mr. Bawden and I, we are, how do I put this nicely? We are vehemently opposed in terms of our take on the historical significance or import of slavery in the Cayman Islands. So Mr. Bawden, if you have read his first book, I think it's entitled The Cayman Islands in Transition, he refers to Cayman between 1734 and 1834 as a society with slaves. And of course, I take the diametrically opposite approach, and I more or less strive to analyze Cayman back then as a slave society, right? And so, looking at the legacies of slavery should lead us to the realization that it didn't take expatriates to introduce racism to Cayman, right? So that is usually the thinking, that the expats, although of course they brought their own brand of racism, but before the expatriates came, kind of had racism down pat in Cayman, I think, to Mr. Steve McField's nods. So my mandate, if you will, is to get to the bottom of this and to also look at why many Caymanians are of the view today that slavery was not very significant. And so I don't want to give any more away, because then, you won't come and listen to my paper.
Well, so we did give some away on Friday's show here on For the Record as well, Dr. McField and I.
Show. And I concur with you also. I concur with your view also. That is where Roy and I differ too.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you are going to get to the bottom of it, because we were victim of racism long before the first expatriates came. Because remember now, it was only in the 1950s when we had the first expatriates to actually come here, permanently. Other than that, there were only 3 Englishmen here that I knew that were expatriates. There was usually the commissioner, old Dr. Horder, and an old carpenter called John Bolton, an old derelict carpenter, John Bolton, that used to walk with his pants waist tied up with string. And so those are the only people that we knew. But so the racism was actually local, and it came out of the different districts.
Yeah. And I think that proves that slavery was important, or was significant. Because, the thing with legacy is legacy based on historical foundation, right? So if for instance, a white Caymanian, right, would destroy the glass, right, that a black Caymanian had just imbibed from, where is that coming from? Right? There must be a source. It just didn't happen by osmosis.
Precisely.
I could also say, though, that one of the things that Dr. Roy Bawden said in some of his speeches that I took issue with is that he said all of us are expatriates.
Right.
And
imported society.
And during that time, I said, well, that's not right, because I'm not an expatriate. But what he said was that we were not really born from the earth here. We all came from somewhere. So when he talked about racism being brought by the expatriates, he meant us, the sort of indigenous people even that were real not indigenous. But so I think that's a very, very important and interesting argument, and I'm looking forward to hearing your paper.
Okay, we do have Dr. Bawden on the line, but we need to hear. But we still have to accommodate Dr. Stephanie Fullerton Cooper, because she has to leave us at 9:15 as well. So we're going to ask Dr. Bawden to hang in there. And let's hear from Dr. Fullerton Cooper. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Thank you so much for having me. I wonder what we said that might have stirred Mr. Button to join us, but we're so happy to know that he is able to do that.
Sure.
I am excited about this symposium. I write a bi-weekly column for the Caymanian Times that looks at celebrating local writers and writings. And it is something I feel passionately about. I have gone overseas and presented academic papers about the Cayman Islands writers, more specifically Mr. Bodden. So my paper is Mirrors and Reflections, seeing Cayman through Bodden's short stories and poems. I realize a lot of persons are writing about his nonfiction or will be speaking about his nonfiction. But one of the things I'm going to be talking about is how the nonfiction is mirrored in the fiction. And so when you are a writer, if you are a historian or a sociologist, as we acknowledge Mr. Bodden as being certainly a social historian, then you basically report what you have researched. But in his fiction, he's able to embellish what he has discovered. He's able to reflect what he has discovered, and he's able to manipulate it to convey certain messages. So that's what I'm exploring. But one of the things that's always interested me, which is what kind of prompted my writing of the Caymanian Times article, is the whole theory that a writer is not really appreciated in his own country, because I have spoken with so many, even Cayman's youth, as I'm a professor. I've spoken to even Cayman's youth, and they have said, do we have writing worth acknowledging? Do we have anything worth adding to the national curriculum? And I want to use my paper to be a resounding yes, we do. So one of the things I'm proposing to do is to look at how Roy Bodden's works mirror that of other public intellectuals in the Caribbean, persons who have basically been Caribbean canonized, accepted, the measure by which other writers are measured. And I applaud Mr. Mutu for speaking to that earlier, because I want to look at not just the Anglophone Caribbean and speak to persons like Erna Brodber, George Lamming, Derek Walcott, who we've accepted as public intellectuals, as people who have a lot to say. And I want to show how Bodden mirrors those people. Therefore, if they are celebrated, why not celebrate him too? I also want to look at writers from the Hispanophone and Francophone Caribbean, specifically Cuba's Nicholas Guillen, who's celebrated as such a revolutionary poet. I hear revolution in Bodden's poetry. As a matter of fact, my title comes from his collection of poems, Reflections from a Broken Mirror. And he is very, very revolutionized in this. He uses the word lament quite frequently in his poems, and he raises questions that we need to grapple with as a society. From the Francophone Caribbean, I'm looking at Simone Shorspat, who basically celebrates the cultural, and I really believe that, like Kamau Brathwaite's Nation Language, other writers who've just celebrated what makes us authentically Caribbean, Bodden does that as well. And when my paper looks at reflections, that's what it's going to do. What about the Cayman society is reflected in these works? What about the Cayman society celebrated? So somebody mentioned voodoo, Mayaism. We think, oh, that's not here in Cayman. Yes, it is. And Bodden's works speak to that. So our language, I love the fact that he speaks using the Cayman language. And Bodden's works, it came alive for me when he read from it. I remember being at a meeting and he decided to do an excerpt from A Gathering of Old Men. And when you put that Cayman accent to the story, it just came alive. I didn't know what a caboose was. I didn't know what a cookroom was. But of course, the more I delve into his works, the more I have an appreciation for Cayman, this place that time forgot supposedly, this place that supposedly has no culture. Yet when I read Bodden's works, the reflection of the culture, even in the naming of the people. What I always found interesting about Cayman is this whole idea that the name you know me by at home is not my real name. So Therese is really not called Therese. Even Mr. Bodden, his first name is not Roy. Yet that's what we know him as. So to me, just so many aspects of the Cayman culture just come alive in his work. And I want to see how that reflects, how his writings reflect Cayman, reflects what we believe, what we celebrate, the religious aspects of what makes Cayman Cayman, you know. So I'm very happy to explore this. And I really want to just add here that we're talking about history, we're talking about sociology, we're talking about literature. there are so many aspects or various areas that we can have our youth coming in. It's one thing I'm passionate about. Do our young people know this? Do our young people want to become part of this interrogation? Can our teachers take the students in on Thursday, take the students in on Friday for various aspects? Let them hear their history. Because if Cayman does not know and celebrate its history, if the youth don't, what is Cayman going to look like 50 years from today? So I really hope that those who are listening, who are teachers, who are parents, who want their youth to embrace Cayman, bring them out. This is the perfect place for it.
Sounds exciting. Let's hear from the man himself. Good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
Mr. Moderator, thank you. I don't want to steal the guests in your studio time, but it would be remiss of me if I didn't make a couple of remarks.
Sure.
First of all, I want to say that I love this society so much. I am so much a Caymanian that I want to be an inspiration to other people. And I want to say this without any embarrassment at all. You know, my mother was the village washerwoman. She washed the clothes of the important men in the village because she had a vision for her first son, which was me. So I want to use that to say to my fellow Caymanians who might come from circumstances like that, that they should use that as an inspiration. I mean, if I could come from a dysfunctional home with such a humble mother who had a vision and lift myself up to this point where people will see merit in my works to honor me, I am humbled, and they should use that as an incentive because there are many Roy Bordens out there. I just want to awaken them to the fact that they can produce, they can even exceed what I have done. So that's the first point I wish to make. The second one is this. I'm not saying that there wasn't slavery and racism in the Cayman Islands. What I'm saying is that based on other academic arguments and definitions, Cayman was not strictly a slave society, but it was a society with slaves. I want to tell you something. In slave societies, the premier distinction was a wealth disparity between the white free people and the slaves. In Cayman, there was no such wealth disparity. In many instances, the white people were as poor as their black slaves. The difference of slavery in Cayman is that it was purely skin color. The masters were white and the slaves, for the most part, were black. So that's a significant point. I'm not saying that slavery didn't exist. I'm saying that Cayman, by the definition I gave, and I have other points, was a society with slaves rather than a slave society. Now, here's a significant point raised, I think, by my brother Mario. Racism didn't emanate because Cayman was a totally imported society. None of us, including the black people like me who trace their ancestry for 7 generations, none of us are indigenous. We all came here from somewhere else. That is why I describe the society as a totally imported society. And so when we came as imports, we brought our own prejudices and predilections with us. Is there racism in Cayman society? Of course there is. I am famous for arguing that. I speak about it even now. It is blatantly more so now probably than it was during the era of slavery. So those are the points I wish to make, because I don't want to be a scholar who's denying history. So I don't want people to think that I'm denying that slavery existed in Cayman. I am saying it existed. It was not nice, but Cayman was not a slave society. And Dr. Williams is right, and I am right, because the only discipline in the world where there's only one answer is pure mathematics, and this is not pure math. He has his arguments for defending his case, and I have mine for defending my case. And I guarantee you, if we both submitted our arguments as dissertations for a PhD, each would be awarded his degree, although we are diametrically opposed. I shall continue to listen and have a nice day. I am humbled by all these important people who take the time out to celebrate the writings of the son of the village washerwoman.
Thank you very much, sir. You have a great day, and again, congratulations. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, The conversation will continue, so please stay tuned.
When I was growing up in Cayman, Sundays was always a big day for our family. Everyone would go to Granny's house for Sunday dinner after church. Even today, I can still smell the aroma of all the delicious food we used to eat, especially the hot, fresh baked bread smothered in butter, topped off with our favorite pan cheese. These days, I don't have enough time to cook and bake, but I do my best to carry on the Sunday tradition of family meals, and being able to get hot, fresh bread with no preservatives or additives from Caribbean Bakery is a big help for me. Shh, don't tell them, they still think I baked it. Caribbean Bakery, now delivering every Sunday to my Grass grocery store in Eastern Avenue and Marina Drive. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh.
Health City is now open at Camana Bay, offering a wide range of specialties at our state-of-the-art Camana Bay Clinic. We are here to help you save time and feel better. We are open weekdays, weekends, and evenings for your convenience and are dedicated to reducing your wait time while improving your health. Friendly staff, expert care, lab services, and diagnostics in one convenient location from the hospital you know and trust. Health City at Camana Bay, within your reach.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vant Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast, and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vantmotors.com, or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vant Motors on Walkers Road.
The 20th Annual Talent Exposition of the Arts, Sunday, July 25th at the Hartwell Theater, is brought to you by
the New Self-Help Community Foundation and proudly sponsored by
Cellular World, Logic, CUC, Dr. Steve Thomas, Burger King, McRuss, Rainbow Realty, Frank Hall Homes, Walkers, Browns Esso, Mike's Esso, and Delware's Esso.
Ministry of Education, Mitsubishi, Caymanian Times, NCB Group, Breezy Production, A.L. Thompson's, and Radio Cayman.
Prepaid tickets for the 2021 Talent Exposition of the Arts at the Hartwell Theater are available at Funky Tanks and Winner Circle Sports for $10 or $15 at the gate.
For the record, with ORRETT Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with ORRETT Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're discussing the J.A. Roy Borden Symposium taking place on this Thursday and Friday at the Hartwell, and Dr. Livingston Smith will give us more information on that. He will also be talking about some of the other presenters. There are many more, some really prominent names on the agenda, or should I call it agenda, on the speakers list, the presenters there as well. So it's going to really be exciting. But we want to engage in some of the discussions that took place earlier, and I'm going to start off with Dr. Williams in relation to the slavery issue. On Friday, Dr. Steve McFeel and I were discussing slavery in the Cayman Islands as a result of the Juneteenth celebrations in the United States. And we know that Emancipation Day was celebrated in the Cayman Islands up until the 1970s, and then it changed. We have basically renamed now Emancipation Day, Discovery Day, very little celebration going on. So again, I think that is another of one of the denials that we have. I'd like you to speak to that if possible, sir.
Okay, so Discovery Day, first of all, I teach a class at UCCI entitled Caymanian Society. And we always start, my students expect me to begin with 1503, or to begin in that year, 1503, because that was when Cayman was discovered. But that's not quite accurate, is it?
No.
Right? So before I go on, I'd just like to come back to Mr. Bodden's point about Cayman being a totally imported society. Everywhere, by that logic, would have been a totally imported society, because the Native Americans aren't really native, in a manner of speaking, to the Americas. They were Mongoloids first, right? Who decided to cross over 30,000 years ago. So I'm speaking to, let's say, the long established soul, right? The person who has been here for long enough, to be able to, I guess, rightfully call him or herself a Caymanian. And I mean, those people, in my mind, they do exist. And in my mind, you should see them as indigenous, right? But I like to tell my students, going back to Discovery Day, that, there weren't any people here. I mean, unless you count turtles as people, which we don't do.
Or the Crocs.
Or the Cayman, right? But our history actually began way before 1503. Because if you look at the racial composition of Caymanians, we're a mixed race. And so that tells me, or it asks the question, mixed between what? Black and white. So can we get more geographically specific with black and white? Africa and Europe. So to understand where we're coming from as Caymanians is to understand where our ancestors, where they're coming from. They're coming from Africa, they're coming from Europe, and of course they came here and they, let's say, interacted. And so my thought really around all of this is Discovery Day, wonderful, but there's more to Discovery Day than Discovery Day, if that makes sense. There's more racial nuance and subtlety and very explicit, right, features that we need to explore.
Okay. Mr. Mario, I think you want to mention something on the labor front as well?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, my paper is going to be dealing with the topic of reform, the labor and human capital development framework and systems in the Cayman Islands. And I am going to be looking at Dr. Roy Bodden's life and work in public service as a policy advocate. I also regard myself, and some of us around this table as well, as a policy wonk, delving deep into policy. And that's what Dr. Roy Bodden does as well in his work as a teacher, as an educator, as a politician, and as an author. And so one of the things that I am going to be talking about in my paper, which should be no surprise to anybody, is that we need to have, at long last, a human capital development authority. No longer can we survive in this country with a fragmented, disjointed system of having a Department of Immigration that's just morphed into a work, WORC. Then you have Labor Department somewhere else. Then you have Scholarship Secretariat somewhere else. And there's no connectivity, no integration, no culture of compliance, nothing. If we are going to be a first world country and we're going to compete, and now one of the things that we're facing is the world is moving to potentially a minimum tax world. They're talking about 15%, which means the Cayman may no longer be a tax neutral or tax free society, which means that our competition and our ability to be resilient and to compete in the global stage is going to have to be even more important. That means we need more investment, more thought leadership in human capital. And I'm going to be preaching that argument as much as I can at the symposium and I speak on Friday morning, but throughout the rest of my life as well, because it is critical for our country. As I said in the beginning, military powers, countries with military powers, they invest heavily in military armaments and hardware. We as a service economy must invest in our people, our human capital. And so it'll be no surprise what I talk about, but it's also going to mirror a lot of the hopes and dreams and visions of Dr. Roy Bodden. And I hope that people will come out to the symposium, and I want to thank the Cultural Foundation for putting it on and for all of their sponsors and the government. It's a free event. People can come for an hour or they can come for the whole day and a half, but it's going to be a great opportunity for people to come out especially students as well, and young people, and those who are not employed, come out and listen and learn and engage in the development of our country.
Okay, but we're going to go to a commercial break in about 2 minutes. I just want to ask you one question in relation to this whole approach to human capital development. Even in the names, the titles that we give the various departments, we seem to keep borrowing from each overseas territory, because the British Virgin Islands have something similar to work. Bermuda, in terms of the name that they call it, when are we going to actually take the name and take that and couple that with the needs and desires of the people of the Cayman Islands? So what is in a name is also what you actually intend to do.
Yes. You know, in the recent past, after the election, people have been talking a lot about, you know, what we can do to move forward. And I've said to people that you can create and you can put as many brilliant minds on boards as you wish. If you don't have the proper framework, the proper policy, then you're going nowhere. And so the previous government, the progressive government, really didn't do a lot in relation to human capital and labor. I'm hoping that the new PAC government will take it seriously, because it is even more critical. So, Mr. O.C., you are very right. As a former chief immigration officer and cabinet secretary, you know that sometimes people play games and they put out these little band-aids and think that that's going to be the solution. Sometimes it's just to appease the masses. They say, we're doing something. But until we get serious about this issue, and this area of human capital, and I'll talk about it briefly, very briefly in my presentation Friday morning, has been a life's work for me to try to inspire and motivate and advocate for human capital development of our people. And until we take it seriously, we just, as Ms. Lucille Seymour says, spinning top in mud.
Okay, so we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, in addition to hearing from Dr. Livingston Smith about the other presenters as well, I'm going to revert back over to Dr. Henry Muto. I've been reminded that Dr. Muto has a PhD as well, so I've been reminded of that. And we're going to come back to him to talk a little bit more about Guyana and about writers and intellectuals in Guyana, and in particular about Dr. Rodney, Walter Rodney as well. So please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Did you know that defective airbags can cause serious injury or even death if not repaired immediately? Right now, millions of vehicles around the world are under recall for faulty Takata airbags, and yours could be one of them. At Vamt Motors, our priority is to make sure the Toyota or Ford you drive is safe. So we are offering customers a free, fast, and easy airbag swap out if your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or earlier. Find out if you need to have new airbags installed by emailing your Ford or Toyota vehicle's VIN or vehicle identification number to service@vamtmotors.com, or stop by Vamp's Service Center or call us at 949-2245. Don't risk it. Get the airbags in your Toyota or Ford checked for free at Vamp Motors on Walkers Road.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman,
For the record,
89.9
with
FM.
ORRETT Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with ORRETT Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have about a half an hour left to go in the show this morning. We're talking about the symposium being held at the Harquail Theatre the 24th and 25th, Thursday the 24th, Friday the 25th of June. The symposium is on J.A. Roy Borden, Public Intellectual Interrogating the Caymanian Society. And we have some of the presenters in the studio with us this morning. We had some earlier. They have left, and we have additional ones also with us. Dr. Livingston Smith, who, is, should I call you the co-organizer or the main organizer, along with Dr. Henry Muto in the studio with us. So we're going to switch gears and go back over to Guyana. We're talking about Roy Borden here in the Cayman Islands, but Guyana has had many prominent intellectuals over there. One who, unfortunately, his life ended tragically, but his legacy still lives with us, Dr. Walter Rodney.
I mean, perhaps one of the only CLR James probably would be comparable if we're talking just about a sheer intellectual and someone who had not just the African interest in mind, but whose humanity allowed him to see that Guyana was a country in which more than half the population were Indian indentured or descended from Indian indentured laborers. Mm-hmm. And while people would argue that Burnham also wanted to bring the races together, it wasn't as clearly defined as I think most people would have liked to see. But then what happened is that, and we know this is public knowledge now, what happened in Guyana, because remember that, and this happens, and it is going to happen in Cayman if it ever gets to that point. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as the labor movement started talking about, getting wages and, Nether Soul, was it Nether Soul in Jamaica? There was I forget his name in Guyana, Hubert Nathaniel Critchlow and these guys, when they started talking, I mean, we were a colony. And I don't think that the mother country would liked it very much. Mm-hmm. And then Chetty Jagan had come back from dental training, and he started the PPP. Him and Burnham at the time joined him, and they were seen as buddies at the time, and people saw this as the hope that the two countries, because there has always been a sense of distrust between blacks and Indians in Guyana, because I think both people believe that they have more right to the country. Blacks believe that they were slaves and therefore they came before the Indians, and the Indians believe that when they built a lot of the country, that they were not slaves, but they were beaten and didn't get Medicaid. As indentured labor, it wasn't easy. So
tantamount to slavery.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was still slavery. I mean, they got away. But anyway, the point is that when the British, once these things happened, the British suspended the Constitution. I think it was 1953. I was too young to know what was happening, but by the time I was about 12 years old in 1960, then I started to understand a little bit more of what was going on. And you heard the names of the people, all the party was imprisoned, from Martin Carter, all of them, they were taken down to Sibley Hall, place in the Mazaruni area, and it's sort of on a rock. But then out of that, with Burnham found an ally in the British, And when they had the first election, the system of voting was changed in order to, from first past the post to proportional representation, and they did everything possible. And then, of course, Jagan was a known Marxist. I mean, he said, I'm a Marxist. He wasn't a communist in the sense that I don't think that the Guyanese people would have allowed the kind of communism that, let's say, Cuba or Marxism that they had in the country. I don't think they had grown up with that kind of sensibility. But the point is they used that against him. And then Kennedy in the United States, these things are known. And then they all conspired to put Chedi out of power. And they never really came back, because once Burnham got into power, they rigged, every election was rigged. I mean, Labour people were brought in to Guyana to break up, to run the unions, to tell the unions how to. I mean, the whole thing was a mess. And there was an 83-day strike, I think, in 1960 or 62. I don't remember, as a young fellow. And then after Burnham had total control over the country for quite a long time, I think Rodney had, of course, been doing his thing. He was teaching in Africa and his PhD and all over the place, and he was quite in a lot of demand. And then they formed a party called the Working People's Alliance, and they were just brilliant people in it. I mean, and there, who used to teach me in school, her name was, we knew her as Sandra Williams, but she came and died after, and she passed away a couple of years ago. And then Rodney, Dr. Rupert Roopnarayan, and all these intellectuals became, and so they got together and formed the WPA. Of course, that immediately was a threat to Burnham, and then they had to find a way of getting rid of Walter Rodney, and he was getting so popular that when he had meetings, I mean, there were thousands and thousands of people, and what he had was he was drawing the Indian crowd. He was bringing Indians into the party because they recognized him as somebody, and he didn't. I don't think it was politics that made Rodney behave in the way he behaved. It was just that he was that kind of person. You know, when he went to Jamaica, he was up in the hills with the Rastas. When he wrote Groundlings with My Brothers, and while he was black, I think the Indians saw him as a hope, even if it was to get rid of Burnham, even if they didn't genuinely want him. But I would say they did. Anyway, he was murdered. He was assassinated. His brother was bomb on. You know, everybody knows the story. And then a car blew up. And since that time, it was misadventure. I don't remember what's the verdict they came up with.
Misadventure.
Yeah, yes. Misadventure. And so, but people have always been calling for an inquiry into Rodney's death. And meanwhile, the guy who actually did it got away, or was allowed to go out of the country to Suriname, various places like that. But he was just a play. But you see, this is why I come back to the paper that and I hope I'll be able to make these points that Roy, I talk about the yard, meaning not just a physical little space with a house on it, but the yard meaning home, meaning a place where you can find identity, where you can rest in yourself. So if when somebody is Jamaican saying, may I go in my yard, he doesn't mean I'm just going to this little house in my yard. He's going home. If he's in London, we go in my yard. And so I want to show how Roy is a product of the great intellectuals, the great artists of the Caribbean. He's a product. Although Roy had what he had coming from Cayman, he fell into his society. He loved it just as any of the other artists loved their society. And he had the courage to come out and write the things that he knew that would probably not make many friends. Yes. And so when you have that kind of courage, that's the courage of an artist who said, well, you know what, if that's how you want to go, this is what I see as the truth. And then I couple it with historical facts, but also in his stories, like Dr. Fulton Cooper was saying, he took all of the experiences. I mean, if Naipaul, somebody asked V.S. Naipaul, tell us about your life. And he said, well, read my books. He said, my life is in my books. So in a way, when you read Roy's books, both areas he's writing in, right, from the as an artist, where he writes his poems, Broken Mirror and so on, and as a historian or a social historian, we can see his legacy. I mean, remember, that Roy trained in Jamaica. I think he was at Michael.
Yes.
And when you talk about Michael, the days that Roy would have been, I mean, that whole movement. I mean, there are people like Roger Mace. I mean, they're great Caribbean artists who were upturning things there. I mean, they weren't coming out, a lot of them, with flags waving and so on. But when you read their writings, when you look at the painters that were happening, when you go to Trinidad, you look at Leroy Clark. When you look underneath those lines and you see what they're doing, they're painting about themselves, which is what Roy is doing. So the legacy that Roy is getting, because remember, that what came on, I've told people this, that it's like I'm living deja vu now, because there's hardly anything that when you talk, as I listen to you guys about what the whole colonial society, you're a colony, and the mother countries never, they'll give you certain things, but they will never give you control unless you say,
yes,
I want independence. Yes. And even when you get the independence, the world is sitting around the table planning your future. And now you have to go with it. Well, everybody's going this way. So I'm hoping that I could show that Roy has entered his yard and is firmly in his yard now, and he's joined all the other artists in the region and historians that have entered their yard, whether it is Eric Williams, C.L.R. James, and the Calypsonians. I mean, if you talk about those artists that you see, that they had been talking, I mean, since the 1900s, they've been singing about
Yeah. Ms. Susan, we're going to take the break now because that'll give Dr. Smith an opportunity to speak about the other presenters, and then I want to give everyone around the table an opportunity for some final comments as well. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center.
When I was growing up in Cayman, Sundays was always a big day for our family. Everyone would go to Granny's house for Sunday dinner after church. Even today, I can still smell the aroma of all the delicious food we used to eat, especially the hot, fresh baked bread smothered in butter, topped off with our favorite pan cheese. These days, I don't have enough time to cook and bake, but I do my best to carry on the Sunday tradition of family meals, and being able to get hot, fresh bread with no preservatives or additives from Caribbean Bakery is a big help for me. Shh, don't tell them, they still think I baked it. Caribbean Bakery, now delivering every Sunday to Macrass Grocery Store in Eastern Avenue and Marina Drive. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh.
For the record, with ORRETT Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with ORRETT Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We're in the last leg of the show this morning discussing the upcoming symposium, J.A. Roy Bawden, Public Intellectual Interrogating the Caymanian Society. And we're going to hear from Dr. Livingston Smith about some of the other presenters, many who were not able to fit into this room this morning, Dr. Smith.
Exactly. In fact, many of them will be presenting from abroad.
Okay, yes.
And
yes.
But just to mention a few others, we have Professor Mushfiq Mubarak. He's a professor of economics at Yale, and he'll actually right here in Cayman as we speak. And he'll be presenting on can we understand and appreciate the history of the Cayman Islands by examining the challenges faced by current developing societies around the globe. And that will be, I think, a very keynote presentation there.
Yes.
We have McKenna Scott. McKenna Scott is a young Caymanian. She's doing a PhD at Temple University. She's quite advanced in that process too, and she'll be presenting from there. And her topic is Revisiting the Cayman Islands in Transition, Caribbean Feminism, the Colonial Praxis, and Epistemological Linkages. And we have Dr. Thomas Phillips. He's coming out of Trent University, and he'll present on the political economy basis of Roy Borden's work. Dr. Monica Lawrence, the quest for identity as seen in the writings of Borden. Paul Biles, we know Paul Biles very well. He'll be presenting on understanding the key structural features of the Cayman Islands economy and measuring its success. That should be very interesting discussion.
We have another Lawrence too, right? On there, or Madam Speaker?
Yeah, we're coming to that. Definitely. We have Dr. Frank McField. Political ideology and identity in Borden's work. We have Miss Gomez, Kathy Gomez, patronage versus employment in the Cayman Islands context. The Honorable Mary Lawrence, definitely. She'll be presenting on the cultural context of Roy Borden's and his writings. We have a lawyer, Mr. Simbamba, presenting from Canada. Accountability of judges and government lawyers falling short of the ideal. Dr. Carly Corbin is a really important.
No stranger to Cayman.
Definitely.
Yes.
He's quite an expert.
Yes.
Because we want to bring the broader issue of the overseas territories, where are they now, those issues. And so he speaks on the state of play and future of BOTs. We have Dr. May Smith. Dr. Smith just completed a PhD at Cambridge, and she studied Cayman's financial system, and she's going to be presenting on that. And we have several other persons presenting from Cayman and overseas for the event.
Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes for closing comments, starting with you, Dr. Steve McField, and going around the table.
Well, it's very exciting to be here with all of these intellectuals. I didn't think I would ever live to see the day where we actually come together publicly and speak on over a microphone, because in Cayman, we're always so scared to let people know what we're thinking, and especially speaking it orally. We go to the bars, or we go to a restaurant and we'll speak to each other, or we'll sit on what Roy calls on the porch. We'll whisper on the porch, but we have never, in my lifetime, and I have lived here for a long time, and I intend to live some more years too. we never actually come together publicly, and in a forum like this, and so it's so exciting. I don't think that many people realize how exciting it is to be able to have something like this in Cayman Islands. I used to attend things like this when I was at university. I heard that professors were speaking at another university, and I would go there to sit. Even sometimes there was no standing, there was no sitting. You had to sit outside and listen to the microphone. And I hope that this is the beginning of the enlightenment of Cayman. Every country has its era, the Enlightenment era, and you hear about the Renaissance era. I hope that this is the Cayman Renaissance, and it's so exciting for me. I got up this morning around 4:30 just to be awake and to come out, just to come out, and I'm hoping that people do come to the forum. And or listen. I don't think it's going to be televised.
Yes. Live stream?
Yes. But I wish that people could be there physically. Yes. Their physical presence could be there, and I'm looking forward to it. And I would say, hail to Dr. Muto, and Dr. Livingston for putting this together. Dr. Muto is so humble. He always tried to hide behind this invisible screen, but he's a great strong intellectual, and I always like talking to him, and I must say that it was him and some other people who actually brought me out. I don't mean in the colors, but
coming out.
but brought me out into the public and gave me recognition as a Caymanian intellectual.
Thank you very much, Doc. Dr. Williams.
Okay. What better way to spend this Thursday than engaging with and tussling over the, I guess, socially relevant percepts of Dr. Roy Bodden. He is in many ways my foundational muse. If not for his first book, I probably would not have got my PhD. Right? So it's good to disagree, I guess, but I dare say that I agree more with him than I disagree, and his works are very, I would say they're indispensable. Yep, and sort of inevitable when you consider our historical trajectory to this point. So, hats off to Mr. Bodden, and I can't wait for Thursday.
Okay, Mr. Mario?
Yes. Thank you very much. And as I said from the outset, even though I'm a grieving son this morning since my mother was buried on Saturday, I do this in her honor, my parents' honor, and also God gives us strength to withstand all these things. And even though it's hard, in respect to Dr. Roy as well, Dr. Roy Bodden, and he's inspired me for a long time in my life. And when this symposium occurred, and I thought I was not going to be able to participate, I'm happy that I'm given the strength and grace to carry on. And so I want to just say that one of this panelists early on mentioned about Caymanians, and Dr. Steve also talked about Caymanians, young Caymanians, scholars not wanting to come back to Cayman when they finish university, or some of them want to leave Cayman because they're feeling disillusioned. And I think that again gives so much more importance to the topic that I am going to be discussing about human capital development of Caymanians, skills building. And so in my paper entitled The Reform of the Labour and Human Capital Development Framework and Systems in the Cayman Islands, I'm going to be hitting on a couple of well-known concepts, but things that have been deferred for too long, and I'm going to be talking about how we can get it done. Human Capital Development Authority, also a national skills building initiative, as well as a mandatory cultural and history orientation for all expatriates coming in to Cayman for the first time. All those things are important to build our human capital, and I think that it is great that we have this symposium. I'm happy to be participating, and I wanted to say to people that they should come out, as we said earlier. You can come as you please, stay for the day and a half, or come for whatever sessions. But let's as Dr. Steve McField mentioned, this is a renaissance in our time. This is enlightenment, and let's get talking about issues and policies and thought leadership, and not just whispering and having these little chatters behind the scene. Let's get out there and make a difference.
Yep. Dr. Smith, and then we'll have Dr.
Yeah, I just wanted to invite, to implore, come along to this 2-day symposium. The objectives we want to achieve: we want to honor Mr. Bodden's scholarship, we want to bring together scholars, locally and overseas, to look at his ideas. We want to encourage scholarly reflection. We want to encourage young people to get involved, and we have some young persons presenting. And I should have also mentioned that we're going to get a book out of the event also. And so if you want to see the entire 2-day event, you could go to the website of CNCF to see the program. Mm-hmm. But it would be real good if you come in person, even though it will also be live streamed. Thank you so much again.
Dr. Muto.
Yes, well, I just want to say what everybody has says, one, in terms of people coming out. I really do hope that people take this opportunity to come out, because even though you might see it on the TV, in a sense, that that connectivity that people need. I mean, we've been living too long on the TV, you know, and on the screen. I think that part of what makes us human is for us to be able to be with each other and to talk, to have conversations that are close. And in as much as people think their conversation comes out and it's okay, there's a certain element, you know, a certain spirit that happens in a physical presence that you can't get with a screen in front of you. And I do hope that people take advantage of this, and I do agree that this is a renaissance, and I hope it will be taken from there. I'm going to say what I have for the next one, but I want to say that again, Roy, with these works, has come home. I think he has joined. I know this is in his special way, and what he's done for Cayman is he has now joined these great people from the region who has done the same thing for their country. One of the great things about the problem when you say that somebody is the greatest writer, and you know, like you will see a list, if you go online, you will see a list, the 10 greatest novels, and not a single novel would be from the Caribbean. Most of the times, and if they say the 10 greatest poet, they may have Derek Walcott in it because universities accept it as that. But the point is that when an artist works for his society, like Mr. Bodden in the Cayman Islands, what his works mean to his society is equal to what Sparrow's works mean to Trinidad, to what Marley's work means to Jamaicans, and to what Martin Carter's work means to Guyanese, and to what Brathwaite's work means to Barbadians, Gay, and to Cuba. Every artist finds that place for himself, and how he puts, you know, how he signifies the society. I mean, one of the leads in the paper that I'm doing is that when John Hearn in 1963 said that the story of the West Indian artist has been, over the last generation, has been to symbolically signify the region, symbolically signify. So they're using symbolism, they're using their artistic work, but of course you had people who were equal to them, who weren't necessarily, you wouldn't call them artists, but they were just great intellectuals. And I think what he has done for Cayman is equal to what anybody else has done for their country. And if for nothing else, he has to be honored. And I think his name has to go down. And just for and I want to, and Dr. Smith will talk about this. I think the next person I'm going to we should do for the symposium, if I can get it like organized before I leave. Even if I leave, the idea would be there is I really would like to look at the work of Dr. Frank, because I just believe that there's no playwright. Frank has already joined the great playwrights of the Caribbean, not necessarily in how you structure a play, but certainly in the content of the play and the way it examines the Cayman Islands through dialogue, right? And so that is a person I would like to look at hopefully soon. But I want to thank again everybody who's been involved in it. I know how much time it takes to sit down and work on your papers and so on. I want to thank Dr. Smith in particular, OC, of course, for giving us this entire show to be able to talk about this. And Dr. Steve, I want to thank you for your erudition, all the knowledge that you have, that you bring to the table, and I look forward to hearing your work. And Dr. Williams
and Dr. Smith, we want to note that Mr. Roy Bodden himself, will be there and speaking as well. And
role of a public intellectual.
Yes, and the thing is that we get an opportunity to interrogate the writer because he's still alive with us, Dr. Williams, and he can agree to disagree and talk about it. We spoke earlier about Dr. Walter Rodney and his demise. We just lost Dr. Kenneth Coanda in Kenya as well. Right. We see that they believe it is the only suspected body part of Patrice Lumumba is his teeth. one teeth that is being repatriated from Belgium to Africa. So, you know, all of our great, I shouldn't say all of them, but many of our great men of African descent have gone before us. Those that we have still with us, we have to embrace them, we have to recognize them, we have to be able to dialogue with them, because then we don't have to sit and contemplate what did they mean by this, what did they mean by that. We can ask them, we can find out. So folks, take the opportunity and in some way or the other follow this symposium as well. Way over time, but folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. I also want to remind you that we are our brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So I say to you, have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Join Sterling Drainey Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. Caribbean Bakery, made Cayman fresh. Health City, now open at Camana Bay 7 days a week.
The Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure, and by West Bay Pharmacy, taking care of your health.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional,